Test. Pardon? Like this. Yeah. Turn it on. Go. Check. Whoop. Another couple of minutes and I'll start.
Good news. Hey, how are you?
Hello. How are ya?
Good. Hey.
Giving two exhibits.
I'm sorry. I have.
Giving two exhibits.
Two exhibits.
Yes.
Nice. Where?
One is in first week.
Okay.
And then where I look at.
I'm sorry. Sometimes I feel bad. I have a hard time.
No
I apologize. I apologize.
Feel bad.
So one's in Brunswick at the library where she works.
Okay.
She's going to have a photo exhibit there in February.
Yeah, February 3rd to the 28th.
3rd through the 28th.
Can you send me something about it, and I will put it online because I'd like to promote it. Whenever somebody has an exhibit, I like to stick it out there so that everybody knows. I've seen some of your stuff online, some of the exhibits that you've got over there. It's some beautiful photos, wonderful photos.
The hardest part for me is to get out.
Yeah.
Getting out to get the photos because you don't have a lot of people that can take you out.
Yeah.
So,
I haven't been out in so long with
you're so busy.
with this stuff
You are
that's
so
going on
busy,
and
yeah.
competition and everything that I'm getting a little crazy. I want to get outside, even and shoot. Yeah. It's been so long since I've shot.
No.
No, please send that to me, and I would love to post it up.
I
And then
am.
you got put into the possibilities for Ohio too. She got accepted.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a exhibit for the school.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
I think this is your third time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be traveling to Ohio on exhibits.
Nice.
So yeah, she could send you the stuff on email. Do you want it at info at?
Yeah, please send me. I'll
CPS?
post it all up. Yeah. I need to get started here, but thank you for coming up and letting me know. Okay, let's get started. December 20th, Dr. James Ruddick, he's going to talk about 50 years of shooting out of the box. I went on his website. He's got some phenomenal photographs, so it should be a very interesting talk. December 27th, the clubhouse will be closed for the Christmas holiday. January 3rd, to be determined. We're still looking for a speaker. We've got a couple of possibilities, but we're working on that. Introduction to matte cutting and photo mounting. By now, I'm pretty sure you've all heard the spiel. It's a great deal. $3 for a single mat, $5 for a double mat. Can't beat the price. I'm looking now for a treasure and a competition chair. Those are my two main focuses. So beat the bushes, come up with somebody. We need some volunteers to make the organization run. Tonight's presentation is Sports, the Triumph of the Human Spirit by our own Wally Nell. And I got a little bit of Wally's bio here. Wally was originally from South Africa, lived in Egypt for 6 years, and is now back in the United States, currently in the Akron, Cleveland, Ohio area. He's a professional freelance photographer who has contributed to Zoomer Press and other publications. Among others, his work has appeared in Sports Illustrated, National Geographic Traveler, Outside Magazine, New York Times, London Times, and on and on and on and on. I didn't know there were so many magazines, but he's been published in gazillion magazines. His images has graced the covers of many magazines. He has also been an invited photographic presenter, lecturer in a number of international institutions in the USA, Mexico, South Africa, Australia, and Egypt, and has developed course material for photography schools. Wally, take it away.
Ugh. So where's the clicker?
Yep. Yeah, it's working. Let me
So it's the left one or the right one?
put your PowerPoint up and we'll be ready to go.
So is it the left one or the right button?
Pardon?
The left or right one?
Right one.
Right. Okay.
Take it away.
Cool. Okay, I've been doing photography since the I should probably stand a bit further for the noise. Since about 1984, I went to Los Angeles in 1994, and I bought my first camera, and I was always very interested in sports, so sports seemed to have been the way I went. So here we go. This picture I'm probably the most proud of. It got a double spread in Sports Illustrated, and then I'm gonna try and show how that sport is like a mirror of our lives. Like it shows emotion in there. There's hope, celebration, dejection, jubilation, disappointment. You know, you see all those things in sport. There's tension. There's is like a mirror of how do we handle stress, perseverance and sacrifice. Training, you know, we set goals. We have to execute our goals. Coaches are our mentors in life. We have fans. That's the bystanders and families that cheer us on in life. There's winning and losing. There's the whole idea that age is just a number. Well, except for my knees, but anyway. And then the idea of finishing the race, and despite physical challenges or other handicaps, and then there are stories, because we all have a story. We all are a story, am a story, whatever it is. Sport rates, that's portraits of athletes, because after all, we are human. And there's innovation, making different pictures to everyone else. So you in sports photography, you're trying to be not take mundane pictures, but something interesting every time. And integrity, because in sport photography, our readers or the people that see our pictures must have enough confidence that what they see in the pictures are real. And then in sport photography, context will always trump aesthetics. And if you're gonna have both, that's really nice. There's always a choice of lenses, so different lenses show different people differently. You know, long lens makes you look stronger, a wider lens makes you look a bit smaller in the frame, so there's all context. In action images, there are peak action, there's action just before peak, and there's action just after the action. And I'll show you how those differ and so on. And then there's lighting, and in sports photography you're stuck with whatever you get with lighting, so you kind of have to find a way to deal with bad lighting. Here's the first picture I did that did really well for me. This one picture sold many times and made me about $20,000. Speedo, Spalding, Club Sportswear, and Shark watches. They all used it a whole bunch of times. So it all started with track and field. I got my first camera in 1984, and I went home and I thought I should really go and just shoot track and field, because I love track and field. And I thought, well, I need to be specific in something. I need to plan it. So I decided I was going to focus in on a baton and do a slow shutter speed. So this is still the time of the film. I think this was an Agfa CT something film. I don't know what it was, but it was slow, very grainy. Yep. Oh, those days. And that was all for my first roll of film. And then track and field, I'll just go through a whole bunch. Yeah, this is now obviously more recent. There was this shaft of light that came through, that just seemed to light her perfectly. Yes. Ah, I shot. I shot slides until about 1999, and then I got my first camera, which was my first digital camera, which was a 1D, just a plain 1D, the little 4 megapixel camera. And I also had a 1DS Mark II, and then I kind of went up in cameras as time went along. No, this is that's for the R3. And the hammer throw is really hard because they don't really allow you to stand in front because it's kind of dangerous. So you have to find a way to shoot this through the net. So I figured, just make the net work for you. And those I had to expose manually because, focus manually because obviously if you use autofocus, it'll just focus on the net. So you had to pre-focus on where their feet would be on the circle, and then just lock the focus down and just shoot. It was a really rainy day, so I thought, well, I'll just do some stills. And sometimes you walk around and just try and find, moments, and I thought that was interesting. I've always been interested in pole vault and, shooting from the front and just seeing how the pole bends when they jump. On the right was on a really rainy day, and it kind of just really worked well together. I jump and sometimes the right picture is not at peak action but just before, so here she is still holding the shot buttons on. Yeah, this guy was vicious with that hair going. So in that last one, you see how you have to deal with bad light. So obviously, so this is the middle of the day. If it's the middle of the day, I try to place myself against the light, and I then expose for the shadow. So I exposed for the shadow in his face, and then just let everything go, wherever it goes. There was fortunate was overcast. Javelin. And I was just interested in the background of the javelins standing there, so I was trying to line them all up. And with runners, you can shoot hundreds and hundreds and thousands of runner pictures, and you can get nice shots almost every time. So finding ones that are different is kind of interesting. This is the steeplechase. And of course you use remote cameras all the time. So I have a remote down here with probably about a 20mm lens or so. And yes, the camera does get wet, and same there. With everything happening and so on, you have to put your camera down and then just leave it there for basically until the event is done, because you can't go back in to go change it. In the day of films, that means you had 36 shots, and that's it. And now you can just press it. So here on the left, I was able to focus on the one girl close to me, and the light was just nice on her. And here's the one with the hair backlit, which is interesting. Okay, and then my real big break in doing photography in the US and sport was beach volleyball, and this was my first picture published in the US, and this was film in the days of zooming if you wanted motion. So the thing with beach volleyball is everybody can shoot a net shot because you just hit the ball. And my photo editor would get my slide, and he told me, you can send me all these pictures, but I will take one defensive dive shot over 100 really good net shots. So that opened my eyes to how they need something that's different. So it was my aim in my photography to try and find pictures that are different to the normal ones, and I try to stay away from net shots, but you try and make something now and again. Maybe some shadows were different, or some detail. And yeah, your net shots. The one on the left is kind of interesting because it's superimposed onto the Wilson volleyball, and you kind of had to do that. If you didn't have blue sky, you had to find a background that would match so your sky is not just white. So did that. Excuse me. The one on the right is in my film days. That's really old. That's in the early 90s. That. And here's some more historic volleyball. Now the one on the left was probably more interesting because it's a joust at the net and not just a hit. And then you try and do some wide shots. Because if you're shooting for I shot the one on the left for the organization, and they wanted signage, so you shoot a bit wider, so they can get their signage. And the one on the right is also quite good because it's a joust, and it's like more interesting than others. The one on the left was a magazine cover once. Again, just signage. And this one is interesting because, in beach volleyball, there are only two players on a side. So it's the first time that I've ever seen two players go up for a block at the same time. It's very unusual. So that makes that one interesting. And then the other net shots that are very hard to get are blocks. Normally, when they block a ball, you don't see the face because they're normally just the eyes are lined up with this net over here. So the times that you actually find a block and you shoot it and the ball's in the frame and everything, it's kind of quite rewarding. Now we get to some defensive shots. I'll just run through them because it'll be kind of a lot. And that was just reflex. And as you might know, in volleyball, you can use any part of the body. Now and again, some of these people use their feet, but it's hardly ever. So I was very fortunate to get the shot. Brazil. This was also a magazine cover. And there's the famous Kerry Walsh, which is actually a good friend of mine. Koch Karai, who is arguably the best player who has ever played the game. He was the coach for the USA national team, and have just become the men's coach as well. Whenever I photographed him, I knew something would happen, so it's always fun. This was a doubles page in Sports Illustrated. And some of these were used by some companies for advertising. Here's our famous Holly McPeak, who's now an announcer. And you know, the issue with sporting events is that you often have stuff in the background that really takes your eye away from the action, but you kind of have to just work with it. So I've always tried to shoot with as long a lens as possible and as a wide an aperture as possible. Holly McPeak. Misty May, you guys might know her name. And she's a no-name, when I don't even know who it is. I just like the nets in the background now it framed it. And the light was right. Sarah Hughes, when she won her first title, she was in the Olympics this past one. And these are all full frame. They aren't cropped or anything. So I told you about how they want you to be different and so on. So I try to tell stories. So yeah, I try to do it differently by shooting in infrared. Makes for nice clouds, but yeah, I don't think they really liked it. And this is kind of a story because it tells the story of where it is at this hotel in Florida. Same there in Chicago. This is really an interesting story. I had a fisheye lens, and you know, they place you probably about 10 feet away from the sideline, and so you can never really use a wide lens because when they serve, they're so small in the frame that it looks like nothing. And they made a mistake and they placed us right in the line, like about 2 feet. And I thought, I'm going to use the fisheye because within about 2 minutes they're going to chase us back, which I did. So I got this picture of like one of the players in the finals, and sure enough, about 2 or 3 minutes later, no, you have to go back. So, okay, I'll go back. But I have the shot, so it's okay. So here are some stories, like here's the players coming out. Tells a story. This tells such a story. This girl was playing and she was really upset and she went, "Gah!" And she hit herself on the butt. So, yep. That tells a story. Something. Here's a story. This is Kerry Walsh. I think she's won about 4 or 5 gold medals in the Olympics. She had shoulder surgery or was about to go in. And so in the finals of this tournament, which was a huge one, she served underhand and she hit left-handed. And she still won. Incredible. And here's how to shoot for signage. So they had a certain place, and normally I'd be where all the photographers were with the light on the other side. And but I got the dive and they got the backside. So whatever. That's the story, if anything. So here's Kerry Walsh when she was starting to date her now husband. He was in the finals, and this is her reaction as he wins and loses a point, and eventually and so on. And they eventually both won, I think. And then in California, there's Manhattan Beach, and the Manhattan Beach Open is like the Wimbledon of beach volleyball. You get your plaque on the pier and stuff like that. And she won hers, and the husband won his, and he didn't know that she had won, so she came and told him that she also won. Volleyball, the indoor one, is widely accepted as the hardest sport to shoot, because wherever you point your camera, there are legs in the way, or the eyes get blocked by that line over there. So you either have to be really close and under the net, or you have to be far away and high up. So yeah, I again try to shoot with infrared, and I have an infrared filter that I put over my flash. So I fired my flash when I did this to give infrared light. All right, so we're going to try and do something different. For these 2 hours up in the rafters, this one over here, I was lucky because 3 of the 4 strobes didn't fire. It made interesting shadows anyway. And in the indoor game, dig shots or defensive shots are really hard to get. And they don't last a long time. You know, they're about an hour each, so you have to really shoot hard to get something. If you're going to go and shoot from above, you have to run up the stairs, shoot maybe one game from there, and then come down and go and shoot the rest. But you can see, you know, these are great shots, but if you're up there, almost every shot is like that. So it's hard to get shots that are different. It's harder when you're on the floor, but I was lucky that I got her shot over there. Here's some kid stuff. Well, not really kids, they're taller than me anyway. Okay, this was at the NCAA finals a couple of years ago. And I just love the excitement of winning and seeing people's jubilation. This girl was just really special. Celebration. And you know, at times this celebration shots are harder to get than the actual action shots, because action, you know, it's going to be at the net, and when the celebration comes, it's like it's there and it's gone. You know, with action, you kind of know you've got to follow this, but with celebration, it just kind of happens. Tennis, yeah. There's a sport that's hard to find images that are different, because there's just so little that you can do to move around, especially with access and stuff like that. For the longest time, I felt that my challenge was to get the ball on the racket, and I preferred the forehand, because the person's normally stretched out. Normally when they have a backhand, the ball's close by, so it doesn't look as dynamic. So I eventually found that when I looked at my slides, that each picture looks exactly the same, and I'm going, yeah, we need to do something different. So I tried that. So you can see over here, I mean, those are different shots, and the person's face is the exact same. And then I tried to use a wider lens, like I used a 70 to 200 and just zoomed in and out, and you know, you get more space over there, which is nicer. Roger Federer is like stoic. He hits the ball and just like. So to find ways to photograph him that's different. I went above and I got that shot, and that was different. But all the others are like, he has the same expression. Jocko, he's actually all over the court, so he's fun to shoot. And Iga Swiatek, no matter where she hits, she has excellent facial expressions, and she's the world number one, I believe, still, and the nicest person. Arenas Sabalenka as well, lots of facial expressions. Here's proof about working in RAW. I shot these two. And this was in this year. This was many years ago. But I made a point to see if I could get all the whites exposed, okay, and the shadows as well. And in shooting RAW, I was able to do that. So there's a lot of value in shooting RAW. Simona Halep, Sabalenka, Jessie Pegula. Whenever I shot her, it's like she's expressionless. She just and then she plays close to it. And I thought, how do I make that different? So I went to the side of the court, and I just try to shoot as she runs, and just really close up. facial expression of the year, Ostapenko. Here's Sakari. I have no idea who he is, but he was airborne. One of the girls. It's nice to see the strings bend. This girl is only 15 years old, and she's in the top 10 at the moment. Yannick Sinner. And there's a challenge from some photographers to shoot the serves a bit differently. I've seen some people who do it really well, but they use like 1200 millimeter lenses or even longer, and they go up in the stands and then they line up the ball in the hand and the face. So the ball is superimposed on the face as they throw it up, and it's really tight. I tried that, but yeah, I only have a 400, so so try and make some different shots. You know, sometimes it doesn't work from the side or court side, so you go and shoot from the front and maybe higher up, and then you get different pictures. Like, I've never had great shots of Serena, and the one time I went up and she was just dancing all over the show, and it was really great. Maria Sharapova, always excellent expressions, and then you get to the point where you chase the light. This is Moresmo, and up on the left here there was like it's a large stadium, and there's a door that goes out into the outside, and at a certain point of the day for a few minutes there's a beam of light that comes across like that, and just that beam just hit her over there. There's that same beam of light. This guy always plays very charismatically and flamboyant, and the one time he jumped up in the air and it's like he spiked it. So here's some shots from the front. That's the girl that I showed you earlier on, who with the forehand was just like, you know, straight on. I mean, you know, just normal face, but shooting her from the front, and just after she hit the ball, actually had more expression on the face, as you can see. So you kind of have to make your choice if you're going to shoot from, you know, from the side, from the front, or from above, and which angle works best for which player, because each player is kind of different. Again, really interesting from the front. And that is way after he hit the ball, so in theory that shouldn't be good, but it works in this instance. Dear Federer, at least I have a shadow over there of him. And I had the chance once to shoot on clay, and I just love that red clay. It just I was Loved it. And sometimes you don't get the ball, but you get the ball in the shadows, so go for that. Andy Murray. Sorry. Yes. No. Yes. Andy Murray. Sharapova doing a facial expression there. So here I'm shooting from high up and down onto the court, and I'm trying to simplify the backgrounds by using, just the court itself as a background, and in doing so you get shadows, obviously. That's all the Djokovic again, excuse me. And you can work with shadows and so on. Joko. Sabalenka. Alcaraz. The same too. And again, you can work your serves with the shadow over there. Some shadows happening when you're shooting overhead. And that's how I dealt with middle of the day matches, because the sun's coming straight down, you can see from a shadow, so at least it makes it interesting that way. And like Sinner with a shadow. There's Iga serving. You can see whenever she plays a shot, there's not a lot of facial expression. So when I did that one shot from the front, which was like dancing, that made it different. Yes, she just looks like she's just, having fun. It's nice with the shadow. Rafa. Alcaraz. I really fell in love with shooting from above. And if you're ever at the Cincinnati tournament, you just find yourself a seat far up, and you can shoot that easily. I try to shoot from the back as well, just to get something different. And the court looks like a backdrop, which I really liked. The battle for being different. So the one night they started playing, and the sun was down, and there was these interesting clouds. And so I did that, and I shot that in infrared, and I shot that on a tintype, and this ran in the Guardian in London. What I didn't tell them is that it's a tintype app on my phone, but I won't tell them. And I shot some infrared action. You try and be different, so I was trying to get the wide angle feel with the shadows in the hand and going through the flowers, and on the shoes. And then I did something interesting. This is absolutely impractical if you work on deadline. I built myself a strip camera. So what you do is you have a roll of film in there. You get it to the end, and then you are ready to shoot. So you put your camera there. You open the front and you wind the film along. You close the front. You wait for your next piece of action. You open the front. You wind the film, and then you get these totally weird images. And obviously you have to do it on film. Plus, it can't be mounted. So to try and do this on deadline is next to impossible. So it was just for myself, really. I still have my strip camera. Shadows again. Maria Sharapova serving. And I thought that was interesting with him walking back, and there's a picture in the back of all the tennis balls. Gymnastics. I've done a bunch of that, and it's actually very easy to shoot because you know exactly where the action's going to be. So for the most part, you can pre-focus on where the action is, which is pretty cool. This is really old. In the days of filming in the 80s, I shot this one in South Africa. Simone Biles. I have a bunch of her. Biles. Wally McCusker. And whenever they have a flag in there, you're trying to just make it work so that's your background, because it makes for a more interesting shot. Warming up. Cusker. Jordan Childs. And then I did some shots really close up. This is with a 300 f2.8, and I thought, well, I'll see what the R3 can do, and I am so impressed. This is not cropped; it's just how it was. Unfortunately, you have the white band in the back, but it is what it is. Kayaking. There's a big kayaking event that happens in Cuyahoga Falls, and I have some shots from there, so if you want to come join me sometime in the summer, be fun. For a while I tried my hand at the slow shutter speed, and I liked what it did with the water and so on, because when the kayakers go out, they play in a hole, so they basically stand still, and then the water just rushes by. this is freestyle kayaking, where they get points for the tricks they do and stuff like that, and it all takes place right in front of you. A lot of water, what fun. And this was for the 96 Olympic trials. And that was just fun. So this is the falls at Cuyahoga Falls, and this is from the Sheraton Hotel. They have a big boardwalk there. You shoot down, and that's what you can get from it. Easy, really easy. And then team handball, I found the sport last year. Incredible. It's think basketball, think soccer, think lacrosse, and you can body check. So go figure. People diving. It's like, why didn't I find this sport before? Fans, where would we be without those who are supporting us and cheering us on? Portraits, we're human after all. So this picture, we had to I had to help our photo editor do a cover shot of Elaine Young's like this, and so we moved that line a bit closer to the net, and we went on a really high ladder, like about a 10-foot ladder, and then we shot down on her as she served, and she was probably serving about 20 or 25 minutes, and Pete comes down and says, "Oh, Jess, I think my sorry, not yet." So I ask if I can go shoot some. So I go up there and I shoot like 9 or 10 frames, and this was one of them. And he goes home and he calls me back and says, "I hope you have something because my shutter went, so your shots will be on the cover." So I was lucky with that one. This was a hopeful for the 96 Olympics. This girl, Candice Wiggins, was in high school, and she played really well basketball and really well volleyball, and she had to make a choice. So I shot this for the New York Times, and she's now on the WNBA. And that was just a fun shoot, as always. This was an ad for Mountain Dew in '96. The magazine wanted me to do a portrait of this guy, and I thought, well, I'll be fancy and go shoot this in this spiral. They didn't like that. But this was the day of film where you couldn't really manipulate, so I decided to do cross-processing. Who remembers cross-processing? Shot this on, like, I think it was Hector 25, pull the stop, and then in the processing, you process it as a slide and push the stopper. I don't remember. I had to do a portrait of the US national hockey team. Here's Eli Fairfield for volleyball magazine. I prefer those 2 shots, but they used that one. Yeah, whatever. This was the visa ad for the '96 Olympics. Celebrations. Where would we be without celebrations? This shot was in Egypt when Egypt won the Africa Cup. The nation went nuts. And this was on a big square, probably about 100,000 people there, and they would blow these cans of, light a match and then blow these cans. It was fun. So I put a flash on and then just dragged the shutter. Celebrations. There's old George Romain. 6'9", 280 pounds, just pure muscle and a gentle giant. Yeah, there's some pain over there and some celebration over there. Sarah Hughes when she won. This was on the international tour. The thing that I really love about sporting events is to be in the mix, in the celebrations with a really wide angle lens. I just put a 16 to 35 millimeter lens on my camera, and I would just like shoot Hail Marys over the top, and you get what you get. And I like this because, like, you can see all the fillings, you can see the score and everything. Yeah, these girls was just so intense for the camera. 14-year-olds are the best to shoot. They have, passion. This was at the NCAA finals a few years back. This is track and field. Obviously someone's hurt over there. Pain. And this girl fell over there, but she still came over and finished the race. And this guy fell and everybody's jumping over him. Here's the coach, and they don't have a tub of water, but they use their water bottles and doused her. And they rush into the water, and of course I had to rush in too. I had to keep my cameras dry, but anyway. Back in the scrum at the NCAA, when you stand next to these, it's like they're giants. They're like 6'5" and 6'9", and when you stand next to them, like you're just like this level. But once they've done playing and they've won, they're the nicest people. Cutting up the net. Winning. Nebraska. Playing among the glitter. Lena Redke, who was in his last Olympics. She's like 6'10", 6'11", really tall. Team shot. Here's some pain in the tennis court. Some celebration as she wins in the finals. Some tears as she can't believe it. Jocko doing his thing, winning. Not so happy about missing the ball apparently. Apparently he played like me there. And guess what, Dick, and someone else. This is funny. They get fined if they smash their racket, and he picked up the racket like he was going to throw it, and then he put it down softly. It was really quite funny. Sablenka winning. Garcia winning. Rafa happy. Coaches. These are our mentors and our collaborators. Some guys are pretty hefty about it. And then somehow like, huh? Mrs. Venus Williams, and she was almost like, get out of my face. Field hockey, just don't get whacked by the ball. Rugby, yeah, just think like football but with no pads, and in rugby we pretend that it doesn't hurt. That's in Egypt. This is back in the US, I think. This guy broke his leg in that tackle in Kenya. And women play rugby too, even in Egypt. Even if some wear the hijab and some don't. Lucky with a streak of light that came in and put them in the shadows, but him in the light. Rugby is great because you can see the facial expressions, and they're always like, are so interesting. Only in America will they play rugby in the snow. This was in New Jersey. This and that and some other thingies. I did that as a poster for sport. Used light painting. That exposure was on a 4x5 with a small flashlight. Exposure is about close to an hour. Golf. Some boxing. Speed trials. I went there this year. It was absolutely fantastic. It's in the middle of the desert, and they have these speed trials watching these cars go in excess of 300 miles an hour. And this one I think has the record of 335. And people just come around and they look at cars and point things out. And the driver. And off they go. Really amazing. There's a few others. Some cricket. Warming up at some event. I did a strength team that break bricks and tear phone books. wheelchair racing. This is like 1985 or something. It's on film. You can tell, right? Some dog agility and disc diving. Lacrosse. I had the pleasure of covering an event or about 8 hours of it that ran for 24 hours, and they have one game per hour, and this girl volunteered to sing the anthem every hour. So I had to deal with nighttime shots. My camera I had then was a 1D Mark III, so 3200 was about the best I could do on the ISO. So here's some of the shots from there. So cute. And that's it. Thanks so much. If you guys have any questions, feel free to. Yeah. For gymnastics, yeah. For tennis, it's really a one-shot thing. You know, you're shooting so tight. If you see the ball come into the frame and you press the button, it's too late. You have to kind of watch their face, and you know when they get ready, then you press the button. So maybe for some of the cameras now that are faster, like I have something that shoots about 30 frames a second, I can maybe get 2 or 3 frames with the ball in the frame. But apart from that, all the others would just.
Let me bring you the mic so that everybody can hear the questions at home. Please, are there any other questions? Here you go, Joe.
Wally, the shots you used commercially, did you get a model release for those people in the shots?
Yeah, the ones that I did for Visa and for Mountain Dew were released. The other ones were sponsors of the athlete that actually used it.
Anybody else?
Well, I guess some of those indoor shots, like gymnastics too, since you're also having to stop the action on those as well, what ISOs were you up to? Since I assume you couldn't use a flash.
I'm fortunate that with the 1DX and the R3, you can really get high ISOs. I try to keep my shutter speed at 1/800th of a second, and I do a manual meter reading on the light because it's indoors. It'll be even everywhere. You don't have to go and have anything automatic, because if a person is wearing white, that'll throw it off. If the person's wearing black, it'll throw it off, and you want accurate skin tone. So I do a manual meter reading, and normally I shoot wide open, so it's f2.8, probably about between 3200 and 6400 ISO. Some venues have really great light. Like with the tennis, I can shoot, I think that was like an ISO of about 1200, to get to stop the action.
Anyone else? Wally, fantastic presentation. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Come with me, we'll go shoot some stuff.